So we're really thrilled to be here tonight because we've been in operation since October 24th, and 4 days a week, 9 to 5. And we just want to tell you a little bit about the visitorship, and then John will tell you a little bit about the construction. Susie will tell you a little bit about the volunteer and docent and programming that she's working on. So, a little bit about visitorship. We've just been absolutely delighted at the numbers of people who have come, because we've been open 67 days, and we've had 27,000 visitors. And they represent all ages and all ethnics, and I assume all socioeconomic levels. The geography that they represent is totally amazing. From the very beginning, we had people from across the country, all over New York, of course, and then an awful lot of visitors from Europe. I mean, I think you residents know that people get on the tram because it's so much fun. They get over here and there might not be too much to do, so they get on the tram and they go back. Well, they've all started coming south. So we've had visitors from Brazil, and Korea, and Germany, and Italy. It's been just a lovely surprise to us how responsive people have been. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is they are incredibly respectful of this place. They basically suggest that they find it beautiful, they find it a powerful experience to be here. So the power of the calm design and the absolute beauty of this site, and what you guys enjoy every day, which is the serenity, the relative peace, the absolutely gorgeous views of the city and the water. These people are finding it here for the first time, because the park hasn't existed before this. And so they're enjoying what you guys enjoy every single day. So I just say a word about the Conservancy. We founded it in the spring of 2011, and it became very clear as this park took shape that New York State would not have the resources to take it on as a major undertaking, because it is a major undertaking to operate and maintain it. So the Conservancy has as its main mission the operation and maintenance of the park. Oh, that's a different level. Operation and maintenance of the park, and also the programming. And we work in partnership with New York State Parks under a very formal and comprehensive cooperative agreement. For those of you who read about it, on the day of the dedication, which was October 17th, Governor Cuomo officially designated the park as a state park. So what's interesting, or what's fun about this, is what was built as a public-private partnership is now being run continuously as a public-private partnership. So let me turn it over to John, who'll tell you a little bit about the construction.
Good evening. As you all know, the park, the southern end, FDR Roosevelt Park, when we started the project, we were mandated to build the park substantially the way that it was originally designed by Con and commissioned by UDC, which is the Urban Development Corp, who also oversaw the construction, the beginning of the construction of this island. That included the means and methods of how it was built, the selection of the stone, and even the size and shapes of the stones, following Con's designs as closely as possible. All of the stone is dimensional down there, which means it's not a veneer, it's full stone. So one of the lightest stones is about 12,000 pounds to the heaviest stone, which is approximately 36 tons, so 72,000 pounds. The stone that was specified is very porous. It's also very susceptible to staining, which we found out through construction with construction workers. So we have set in right now rules that seem kind of strict. We are working with a consultant, which is a stone consultant, to look at how we remove graffiti, which is one of our big fears, and staining and possible coatings that would help us to remove that stuff. And that process is in the works, and we should start getting the final results in the next month or so after they analyze all the stone. So, like I said, one of our big fears right now is graffiti and just people in the park and the staining of the stone and stuff. And as you can tell, it's also very difficult for us to remove a stone shape now it's all been in place. So we look forward to hearing your comments and how we want to program the project, which we started the park, which we're starting to work on now, and see what you want to see in the park, what kind of events, what kind of activities. We look forward to that discussion.
Thank you, John. I'll give it over to Susie.
said, I'm the director of the visitor experience, and so I'm tasked with engaging with all of our wonderful visitors. Many of whom I'm happy to say have been Roosevelt Island residents, and I've been out of the park quite a few weekends and been able to meet quite a few of you. And I said early on to our lone attendee that I'm embarrassed to say that I've never been to Roosevelt Island until I was hired by the Conservancy in December. So it's been wonderful for me to discover the island and just how it's fascinating, the history of it, the place itself, getting here by the tram, by the subway. Nobody seems to know there's a subway stop here too. And also to get the feedback from all the visitors who are coming to the park. Many of whom are coming to the park as a destination, but many of whom are also coming to Roosevelt Island as a destination and then discovering the park once they're here. So I would love to be engaging with the residents even more, and part of the way we're doing this is by starting a volunteer program. And we had our first session, sadly, on this past Saturday and Friday, and the weather was not really ideal, but we had reached out on our website and let folks know that if they wanted to come by and learn about volunteer opportunities, they could. And happily, we had probably, I think, 10 party souls sign up, which was fabulous, yes. But I'd love to reach out to the residents, as I say, even more, because what we're hoping to start is the initial volunteer program will be called the Greeter Program, where we're asking folks to sign up to be sort of stationed at the park informally, just to welcome our visitors, to answer general questions, and then we sort of phase it in different levels so that if someone wanted even more training, they could be tasked with leading the tours that would probably be on a drop-by basis on the weekends. And if we had a tour and 10 people could sign up, and they would be given a tour. And then next level would be docent program, and they'd be given even more training, and they could lead more specific tours for groups that had scheduled in advance, and particularly those who had an area of interest that they really wanted to learn more about, say the architecture or the history of the island, or Roosevelt or the Four Freedoms. So I actually have sign-up sheets here, and we also have a list at the door, which I would love everyone to sign up to get on our mailing list for general information and also for further information about the volunteer program. So if anybody's interested afterwards, I'd love to talk further about the program, and please spread the word. You can also, if you don't want to sign up now, if you go onto our website, there's a sign-up location as well, and there'll be information about the further upcoming training, other volunteer opportunities as we grow. Is that sufficient right now?
So we're absolutely open to your questions, your comments, your suggestions. We'll comment.
I have a question, a suggestion, and a comment. How about a question? You've answered it partially. Back at the opening in October, which was a spectacular event, the question was raised that this was to become a state park. And the question in my mind at that time was who would be responsible for the maintenance and security of the park. I assumed it would be the state, given that it's a state park, but I've long since given up trying to figure out how the state of New York works. There's just no profit in it. So I'm glad you've got an alternative to that, and I'm wondering, is REAC at all involved with maintenance or security? How does that work?
Yeah. Happy to answer that. Just to back up a little bit, back in 1973, when the park was supposed to have been built, the state signed an agreement with the group that was building it that they would operate and maintain it. Well, times have changed a lot. They renewed that commitment in the spring of '09 when we received the approval to take over the site and actually build the Lewis Kahn design. However, the world has changed a lot, and almost no park can come online now without some private component that will supplement the public, whether it's city or state. And the Central Park Conservancy is actually a private organization that 80% of its funding comes from the private sector.
I adore them to pieces.
Pardon?
I love the Central.
I know them, they're fabulous. And they're good friends of ours. Everybody in the park system has been so generous with comment and advice and guidance, including Doug Lonsky and his team. But anyway, by the time we opened, we have been in a recession for a while. State Parks is extremely strapped. We're a brand new entity that they didn't budget for. And we're a more expensive park to maintain than the average. This crosses over into security. But it is a presidential memorial, and it is actually like a sculpture in the landscape by one of the finest architects of the 20th century, or maybe ever. And it takes a lot of staff to patrol it, basically, and the greeters are going to be, everybody's going to be extremely friendly, and they're going to be extremely informed. But we do have to have a lot of eyes and ears to keep the visitors safe and to keep the memorial, clean and pristine. We hope it lasts 1,000 years like this. So we have agreed, the state has agreed to try every year to put a certain amount of money into the operation and maintenance. The total operation and maintenance is about 2.5 times what they're willing to put in. And 100,000 of what they put in is actually the revenue from $2 million, which we had to raise before we were allowed to build the park. And that is parked up at the Natural Heritage Trust under the control of state parks. So that $2 million will be throwing off a certain amount each year. So we raised it, it belongs to parks, and they're giving it back to us.
Like an endowment.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's in addition to a certain amount that will come from the state. They don't promise it. So we have basically assumed the responsibility of the rest of operation and maintenance and programming. And it's a heavy lift. But and in the beginning, I'll just say also that when we started this, we thought it would be a turnkey operation. We'd raise the money, we'd build the park, we'd turn it over to the state, and we'd sort of walk away. But as but as our investment of time and resources, money, everything else, deepened over the years, it just became clear that we wanted to continue to be responsible for it in a big way. So we are.
Suggestion.
Oh, you want to know about RIOC's involvement? Go ahead.
Yes, I did.
So we have an agreement with RIOC. They have a price list for us. If they shovel snow, it's so much an hour. If they mow the lawn, it's so much an hour. If they pick up the garbage more than once a day, it's a charge per hour. So, and they will patrol on a certain schedule, and we pay for that. So whatever RIOC's involvement is being compensated at a very high rate.
Good. Suggestion. You find yourself on an island composed of volunteer organizations. You are looking for docents. Has it occurred to you to come to the premier volunteer resident association on Roosevelt Island, which happens to be my old outfit, RIRA, the Roosevelt Island Resident Association? Do you know who the president of RIRA is?
Yes.
She's sitting right over
I
there.
know.
Ellen Pollard.
Yes.
Looks like someone.
As it happens, they meet on the first Wednesday of every month, and they have a public session involved with every meeting. If you would like to make a pitch to the people who are already predisposed to volunteer, that would be a good place to start.
Excellent.
There is a youth center on this island which caters to older teens and young adults. There is a Toastmasters on this island of people who are trying to become better public speakers. Wow.
Fabulous. And this is one of the reasons we also wanted to hold the event, because as I say, I'm brand new to not only the island but the Conservancy. So in order to, as we all know, there's wonderful organizations that already exist, and I want to reinvent the wheel. So I would love to follow. And I didn't mention the youth group, but that is something that we're keen on starting, is having not just volunteers, but as a youth internship program as well. So I'd love to reach out to the island and get folks involved in that and suggestions on ways we can use the youth, not just in the summer, but certainly in the summer season or after school or weekends as well.
Comment. I look around and there are a dozen people in this room. The reason for that is not a surprise. There's been no publicity for this meeting other than in the Main Street Wire, a half-page ad 2 issues ago, February 9th, saying there'd be a meeting to talk about Four Freedoms Park. That's no way to publicize a meeting. There are 14,000 people on this island, and there are 10 people in this room. We have kiosks all along the island. It's old-fashioned, but it works. It gets people out to meetings. You've got a newspaper. There was an issue this past weekend. You could have put the ad then rather than 2 weeks before then, which everybody completely forgot. Use the facilities on this island. People want to know what's happening, but you've got to take advantage of them. There isn't even so much as a sign on the church door right now.
Posted on the
You guys are masters at publicity. The October event is evidence of that. You really know how to do it, but you got to do it. If you want to talk to this community, talk to this community. If you don't want to talk to this community, we understand.
Yeah, no, we definitely want to talk, and I think that tonight has been guys have all been part of a learning experience, and we hope to take from, this evening, and the next time we do it, all these suggestions are wonderful to have.
Well, you're looking at people who come out to everything. We are predisposed to come to everything because we're very concerned.
Right.
But we are very concerned in getting people who have other interests on this island of 14,000 people involved in the life of this island as well. Do it.
Thank you. Should we?
Sherry. I'm Sherry. How many of you rode the tram over?
Tonight.
Oh, no, we did
Tonight.
subway.
You
We
did
did
subway.
subway because the
Okay.
walk is shorter on the
Okay.
subway.
On the tram, there is an electronic thing that goes and gives messages to people, and you tell them what's going on. On the buses, the red buses, you can post meeting, put up a signage for meetings. You have to do that with Rion. Both of those with Rion, I think. Yes.
And there are 3 board members in this room as we speak.
I know. It's nice to see you all again.
There are also
And also, I'm
Well, I
signed
can
up.
tell you, I was not a meeting here, I was getting ready to play Jeopardy with Trellis. Rick came by and said, what do you know about this meeting that you have? And I had no knowledge of it whatsoever. And because the blogger came by and told me there was a meeting, and I was able to get here. And so I was supporting what that is.
Well, I
And
just
if
have
it's
to
7 o'clock, I made you leave.
Okay, I just want to say that we actually had a stronger media schedule, and we dropped the ball. It was supposed to be 2 ads in Don Lewis's column, and we just dropped it. So we're very aware. And to your point, we'd love to take advantage of the public postings possibilities.
There are 2 kiosks in the tram. One is a little more visible maybe than the other, but they're both there.
And do you require clearance to post
No,
things there? or
nothing.
you can
I
just-
have that's all public
this
space.
information to you. I have it on my.
Okay.
I'll forward
The
it to you.
kiosks
What
are all
you need
public
to do.
space.
Okay.
Okay,
The
that'd be
only
great.
thing that we ask and that we try to get people to do is to respect other people's postings. So you
Right,
put
so
yours
don't
on
cover,
top of
right.
theirs. Doesn't always.
Fran, I think it's your turn.
Two things I was going to mention. One is I do go to the Toastmasters if you want to give me a hand.
Oh, great, yes,
I'll
okay,
distribute
thank
them
you.
next
Have a
week.
good meeting.
And-
Oh, speak up, Ingrid.
Oh, sorry.
It gets this far.
Oh, did you want me to?
Well,
I'll just start.
oh dear. Donna did a great job.
Just that I was offering to distribute those. The other thing is, one of the things I get a lot of information is the bulletin board at the library. The local library here has a gigantic bulletin board where people put information about local events, and they also have a shelf where you make flyers. You can put the flyers on the shelf.
Oh, great,
Great.
I happen to frequent that library a lot.
Do we just speak to, we again just get clearance that it's okay to put
Talk to
up-
the librarian.
Just the librarian.
Talk to the librarian.
The bulletin board would know.
Has the library ever had one of those window exhibits
Yeah.
of books about FDR?
Good question.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, work that out.
Great, great suggestion.
Good idea.
Yeah.
But they,
You get people interested in FDR, and it provides more of a connection between the people who use the library
Right,
and
right.
the memorial. Now, I have one
That
question.
is our
I'm gonna go.
mission.
If I could ask one question?
Yes.
Once you get,
He's going to leave.
oh,
So,
what's the question?
maybe-
Once you figure out a way, once you figure out a way to prevent graffiti on the rocks, will you then take the fence down?
the fence isn't related to the graffiti. The fence actually was a request of management, as when we realized that our park would not have the same hours as South Point Park. Because it's so expensive to provide the minimum security, we won't be able to stay open until 10 o'clock. We also don't have lighting in our park. The Forfeiters Park is not able to be used after dark, unless we brought in special lighting for a special event, we may do at some point. So the fence is, I'm sorry to say, I'm afraid it's going to be required for a long time, just because of the security requirements.
I don't know there's a problem with it. Every city park has a fence around it, or pretty many city parks have a fence around it, including South Point Park. But it has been discussed publicly, and I think a larger forum would be a better place to continue to discuss it. There seems to be a disconnect between the perceptions of the monument in its place in Roosevelt Island and Roosevelt Islanders' sense of its place and what it means to us as people who live here, not necessarily as a target site for visitors from the world. And
Is the
there's been
I'm
the potential in that. But I think it requires a bigger group than it is. We've heard the argument before, host these people, to discuss another time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
coming.
hope the next time you come, get more publicity and get, 100 people. Last time I was meeting here, there was how many? 250?
250. Is the in-ground lighting not sufficient for evening programming?
Get ready. Go right ahead.
I was just following up on what David asked about lighting.
Because we interrupted. Yes, there is a chance for music concerts, and I think it would be a beautiful way to use the park. And we just, we opened only 4 days after you attended the residence event, and it was just a tremendous amount of work that went into actually staffing and organizing and getting it going safely and efficiently. So the programming is under consideration now, and we'd love to hear other suggestions. I mean, I think it's a beautiful place for music.
There's an enormous amount of talent on this island, both professional and amateur, so please use it. Ria can help you with that. Erica Spencer is very familiar with the artists on the island. I was asking simply about the in-ground lighting, whether that was sufficient for evening programs.
I don't think it's sufficient to provide safety to visitors. It is really, you know how the ruin is lit and what pleasure that gives all those people on the mainland who watch it. And, we didn't originally plan to light the park at all except for the 5 copper beech trees at the front. But just as it took shape, it just seemed like it should be lit in the landscape because it's just so beautiful. So we are in the process of working up, testing the amount of lighting, but there is a limit. I don't think it would qualify as providing safety, a safe environment after dark, which is another reason why our hours need to be different. And of course, if hours are different, then you need a different fence. So that's kind of where we are. Go ahead, Madam President.
Will your park, can we have the park at night at times when we want to have a special event?
And the answer is...
Because I don't have security first.
Yeah, well, actually, we're in the process right now of working through what our qualifications or requirements will be. I mean, there is enough electricity, or if we bring in a generator, we could put light on, for an event. So we're very interested in scheduling events that appeal to people, that are meaningful to people, hopefully consistent with a presidential memorial in the middle of the East River in Manhattan, right across from the UN, etc. So we're really totally open to your suggestions as to what you would like to see happen there. Because it is for the public, it's totally public, and we want it to meet your expectations and satisfy your needs. We're just caretakers, we're the stewards. We don't own anything, as you probably noticed.
We will do a permitting thing just like Leon, though. We will set up a process of permitting and getting, applying for different events and stuff, so that will be part of our programming and setup that we'll get together too, by hopefully
soon.
Yeah.
Should we get
Okay.
Ladies first.
Sure.
I only have 24 questions. First of all, I've had two people who've already called me and want to have weddings there.
We've gotten lots of those requests.
I know, they always all want to be married in a smallpox hospital. Now they want to be married in the FDR Memorial, so I don't know what I just told them,
Well, tell you, we're making a distinction. There are 2 different kinds of events.
Sure.
One are public events
Right, sure.
for the residents, for other people who come from
Sure.
wherever they come
I
from.
understand.
That's one kind of programming.
Uh-huh.
The commercial use of it will have to be more carefully circumscribed. However, we have to raise a lot of money every year to maintain it. So we will be looking at those kinds of requests and figuring out how we can accommodate them safely and efficiently and, without damaging anything having to do with the island. So.
Yeah, well, people are doing fashion shoots on your park every weekend, if you know it or not.
Well,
Photographers are coming and models, and I don't know
Yeah.
if you know this, but they're using it.
we hope to have the permitting
Yeah.
information up on our site soon.
Yeah.
And right now, the way we've been addressing it is that we approach everyone. We certainly would love to continue to encourage the use.
Sure.
We just have to make sure that they're, if it's student photography or something that's a non-profit nature, it's just scheduled in advance, because as you say, we have multiple, and obviously you don't want to have the public being interfered with their
Well, also
enjoyment
these
of the
people,
park.
the last time I was there, they were doing this, they just threw their bags and stuff
Yeah.
on the steps,
Yeah.
you know, let other people
Right.
fall over them. They weren't very
So
considerate.
we have a minimal staff right now, but that's certainly going to be part of the rangers' duties, is because I myself a couple of weekends ago had to break up a dance video routine complete with amplified music and costumes, and that was
Oh, well,
going
which
on
goes
right
on.
in front. Yeah, so it's you know, we're learning what people are wanting to do there. We'll set up a structure so that we can allow things that are appropriate and that don't interfere with the public's enjoyment. And everything should be posted on the web, so that at least the initial message and what we're trying to get across is, if you want to do anything, you need to contact us first.
Right, and on your website, it must state on the front page your hours, because I'm in the visitor center and I get a lot of very sad people on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, because if we're open and you're not open. And we have a sign outside the visitor center giving your hours, because we've been, you know, getting, and it has to be in big letters on the front of the website.
It actually is in big letters
Big
on
letters.
the front, on
Okay.
the drop down. It's on like
Yes.
a bar along the top
Okay.
of the page, and it has been since I'd say maybe since November or so.
Well, it's been up and down because, I mean, you know, anyhow. You know, the visitor center, we're the first line of attack for people coming off the tram. And a lot of the people who have never even heard of the FDR, we send them down to the thing. We need what they call a rack poster, just a two-sided card, you know, with who, what, when, where, why, a picture, because I'm sending people down there, and it's, walk under the bridge and you'll see this thing, and it's really nice. And I mean, we have your books, we have your umbrellas. We need merchandise. You need merchandise, we need merchandise. You want to raise money, we want to raise money. You must start with merchandise. It's an investment, but it really pays, because I've run the visitor center for 5 years. Merchandise, caps, t-shirts, whatever you want, whatever is appropriate. It's the way to raise money. You get these people and they want to spend money. And
Just to jump back to your RAP card, that's in the process of being developed, and we certainly appreciate you being our living RAP card and sending folks down, because I know it's so, you know, it's hard to not have something, even when they get to the park, it's hard to not have something to give
right,
them,
and it's
just to
very
give
hard
them
because you
information.
don't have a store, you don't have
Right.
a booth or anything this time of year. I hope you get something in the spring. So, also, there's been a little conflict about what your staff is saying about the smallpox hospital. I mean, the smallpox hospital is still the smallpox hospital. It's not your visitor center. People were originally saying, oh, this is going to be our visitor center, like it belonged to the FDR Memorial. It's still island property, and you know, if something's negotiated in the future that the FDR Memorial becomes part of it, is taken as a visitor center, it's fine. But I get people coming back and saying, oh, the FDR people are taking over the smallpox hospital. I'm going, oh, really? So I really think that it has to be made clear that maybe in the future something would happen, and part of it would be a visitor center or something, but it's not, you know, people are coming back with the misconception that it's yours, unless you have another $50 million that you haven't told us about.
So just a little bit of background again. Back in the early 70s, when the park was originally supposed to be built, Ed Lowe with the UDC was the client, and Lou Kahn was the architect, and Jack Kennedy's cultural affairs guy, a man by the name of Bill Walton, was involved. And at that time, they did envision that the Renwick ruin, which was in a much better condition than it is now, you know, would be. It was part of the write-up. It was part of the design that Rockefeller, Lindsay, Ed Lowe, Lou Kahn. It's one of the reasons Louis Kahn didn't put restrooms or offices or anything with a roof in the memorial itself. Now, we have no claim to that history at all. And it's no secret that we do think that the island would really benefit by having a structure there that people could use, so that they could get hot cocoa in the winter when they walk all the way down there, and there'd be an auditorium that school kids could come to, and it would be an office for security. So it's a vision. It's an attractive vision, I think, not just to us, but we never tell people that we own it, and we never tell people that it's going to happen. They ask us about it. I thought it meant we got the history wrong. We're trying to get the history right. Susie's doing the research. We know you're the source. So we want to train all our people in knowing how to talk about the smallpox hospital. It's such a fascinating place. Everybody wants to know. First thing they ask when they get there is, what's that? So we'll make sure that our people don't make any claims that aren't true. But I think it is a fact that everybody's aware of, that we think a community building there would actually be a beautiful amenity and make the whole 13 acres, more of a sustained destination for residents and anybody else. So we'll do better on that, okay?
I don't need that.
Are you sure? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, I don't. I'm already here.
Okay. You seem to be operating under the assumption right now that the Conservancy can control what happens within the perimeter of the park. To my knowledge,